Good day everyone! Nandito naman tayo sa panibagong review session natin. And again, we're going to do psychological assessment. At meron ulit tayong 15 questions para sagutin nating lahat. Ready ka na ba? Let's start! Psychological assessment review questions. Number 1. One problem with interest inventories is that the person often tries to answer the question in a socially acceptable manner. Psychometricians calls this response style phenomenon as A. Standard error, B. Social desirability, C. Cultural bias, or D. Acquiescence. Number 2. An aptitude test predicts future behavior, while an achievement test measures what you have mastered or learned. In the case of a test like letter A. Binet, B. Wechsler, C. GRE, or D. Bender. Number 3. Your supervisor wants you to find a new personality test for your counseling agency. You should read A. Professional journals, B. The Bureau's Mental Measurements Yearbook, C. Classic textbooks in the field as well as test materials produced by the testing company, or letter D. All of the above. Number 4. The standard error of measurement tells you A. How accurate or inaccurate a test score is, B. What population responds best to the test, C. The accuracy for personality but not for IQ test, or D. The number of people used in norming the test. Number 5. A new IQ test has a standard error of measurement of 3. Tom scored 106 on the test. If he takes the test a lot, we can predict that about 68% of the time, A. Tom will score between 100 and 103. B. Tom will score between 100 and 106. C. Tom will score between 103 and 109. Or letter D. Tom will score higher than Betty, who scored 139. Number 6. A psychometrician created an achievement test with a reliability coefficient of 0.82. The test is shortened since many clients felt it was too long. The counselor or psychometrician shortened the test but logically assumed that reliability coefficient would be A. Approximately 0.88, B. Remain at 0.82, C. Be at least 10 points higher or lower, or letter D. Lower than 0.82. Number 7. A counselor can utilize psychological tests to help secure a blank diagnosis if third-party payments are necessary. Is it A. AACD, B. DSM or ICD, C. Percentile, D. Standard error. Number 8. A colleague of yours invents a new projective test. 17 counselors rated the same client using the measure and produced nearly identical assessment. This would indicate A. High validity, B. High reliability, C. Excellent norming studies, or D. Culture fairness. Number 9. Counselors often shy away from self-report since A. Clients often give inaccurate answers, B. Ethics do not allow them, C. Clients need a very high IQ to understand them, or letter D. They are generally very lengthy. Number 10. In most instances, who would be the best qualified to give the Rorschach ink blot test? Is it A. A licensed psychometrician, B. A licensed psychologist, C. A licensed social worker, or D. Both A and C? 11. Your client who is an outpatient hospital program is keeping a journal of irrational thoughts. This would be A. An unethical practice based on ethical guidelines. B. Considered a standardized test. C. An informal assessment technique. Or D. An aptitude measure. Number 12. You are uncertain whether a test is intended for the population served by your not-for-profit agency. The best method of researching this dilemma would be A. To contact CHED, responsible for psychology graduate program. B. Make a long-distance call to the person who created the test. C. Read the test manual included with the test. Or D. Give the test to 6 or more clients at random. Number 13. What clients should know about assessment? A. Validity is more important than reliability. B. Projective tests favor psychodynamic theory. C. Face validity is not that important. Or D. A test is merely a single source of data and not infallible. Number 14. One major testing trend is A. Computer-assisted testing and computer interpretations. B. More paper and pencil measure. C. To give school children at least 3 IQ tests per year. Or D. To train pastoral counselor to do projective testing. Number 15. Mike takes a math achievement test. In order to predict his score, if he takes the test again, the counselor must know A. The range of scores in his class. B. The standard deviation. C. The standard error of measurement. Or letter D. The mode for the test. And now we go to answers and explanation. Number 1. One problem with interest inventories is that the person often tries to answer the question in a socially acceptable manner. Psychometricians call this response style phenomenon as the answer is letter B, social desirability. The converse choice B occurs when an individual purposely or when in doubt gives usual or unusual responses. This phenomenon is known as deviation. Choice D manifests itself when a client always agrees with something. Number 2. An aptitude test predicts future behavior, while an achievement test measures what you have mastered or learned. In the case of a test like, the answer is GRE. The GRE attempts to predict graduate school performance, but it also tests your level of knowledge. Some exams will refer to this like the GRE, MAT, MCAT, SAT, etc. as aptitude achievement test. Number 3. Your supervisor wants to find a new personality test for your counseling agency. You should read, and the answer is letter D, all of the above. It has been discovered that if counselor involves the client in the process of the test selection, it will improve his or her cooperation in the counseling process. Now, number 4, the standard error of measurement tells you, and the answer is letter A, how accurate or inaccurate a test score is. If a client decided to take the same test over and over again, you could plot a distribution of scores. This would be the standard error of measurement for the instrument in question. Suffice it to say, the lower, the better. A low standard error means high reliability. Number 5, a new IQ test has a standard error of measurement of 3. Tom scores 106 on the test. If he takes the test a lot, we can predict that about 68% of the time, and the answer is letter C. Tom will score between 103 and 109. Calculated simply by taking 106 minus 3 is equals to 103. And 106 plus 3 is 109. Okay, so it's between 103 and 109. Your exam could refer to this as the 68% confidence interval. Classical test theory suggests the formula x is equals to t plus e, where x is the obtained score, t is the true score, and the e is the error. Number 6. A psychometrician created an achievement test with a reliability coefficient of 0.82. The test is shortened since the many clients felt it was too long. The psychometrician shortened the test but logically assumed that the reliability coefficient would now, and the answer is letter D, lower than 0.82. Increasing a test length raises reliability. Shorten it, it is the antithesis that occurs. Note that the Spearman-Brown formula is used to estimate the impact that lengthening or shortening a test would have on a test reliability coefficient. Number 7. A counselor can utilize psychological tests to help secure a blank diagnosis. And the answer is letter B, DSM or ICD. Diagnosis is a medical term which asserts that you classify a disease based on symptomatology. Number 8. A colleague of yours invents a new projective test. 17 counselors rated the same client using the measure and produced nearly identical assessment. This would indicate, and the answer is letter B, high reliability. This is known as inter-rater reliability. Number 9, counselors often shy away from self-report since, and the answer is letter A, clients often give inaccurate answers. Say, a client is monitoring her behavior and does not wish to disappoint her therapist. The report could be biased. This is a reactive effect of the self-monitoring. Number 10, in most instances, who would be the best qualified to give Rorschach ink blood test? And the answer is letter B, a licensed psychologist. Generally, clinical psychologists would have the most training in this area, while psychometricians were not trained to administer projective tests. The social worker would have at the least education regarding test and measurement. 11. Your client, who is an outpatient hospital program, is keeping a journal of irrational thoughts. This would be, and the answer is letter C, an informal assessment technique. Self-report, case notes, checklists, sociogram of groups, interviews, and professional staffings would also fall into this category. Number 12, you are uncertain whether a test is intended for the population served by your not-profit organization. And the best method of researching this dilemma would be to, and the answer is letter C, read the test manual included with the test. The manual should specify target population for the test in question. Number 13, what client should know about assessment? And the answer is letter D. A test is merely a single source of data and not infallible. Although the first three choices are important to the counselor, the final statement should be explained to the client. An extremely high score, say, on a mechanical aptitude test does not automatically imply that the client will prosper as a mechanic. Number 14, a major testing trend is, and the answer is letter A, computer-assisted testing and computer interpretation. Okay, so as we notice, lalo ngayon, online na ang maraming mga bagay. So modern testing catalog, you might think na ito yung mga lalabas ng mga software. Number 15, Mike takes a math achievement test. In order to predict his score, if he takes the test again, the counselor must know. And the answer is letter C, the standard error of measurement. The standard error is all you need to know. The SEM tells the counselor what would most likely occur if the same individual took the same test again. The question does not ask how well he did on the test, nor does it ask you to compare him to others. At natapos na naman ang drill natin ngayon. Ano kayang score mo? Paki-comment naman below. And I hope marami kang natutunan sa drill natin for today. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell para ma-update ka lagi sa mga drills natin. Keep safe and have a nice day.